Good evening. I am the Keeper, and you are listening to the Deadlight Codex. This is the account of Jake Turner. Jake was a seasoned trucker, accustomed to the solitude of the open road. One night, while driving through the Midwest, his GPS displayed a highway he'd never seen before. It was marked by a thin gray line, unlabeled, stretching into the unknown. Jake's curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to take the detour. It was supposed to cut hours off his route, but the decision would cost him far more than time. As Jake turned onto the unnamed highway, the road seemed to stretch endlessly, flanked by dense forests that enclosed him in a tunnel of darkness. The air felt different, heavy and charged, like it held secrets waiting to be uncovered. His headlights barely pierced the thickening mist that clung to the asphalt, weaving a ghostly veil around his truck. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, though the road was empty, devoid of life. The only sound was the steady hum of his engine, a lonely companion in the engulfing darkness. Jake adjusted his rearview mirror, but there was nothing behind him, only the shadows that seemed to grow and shift with each passing mile. Hours passed, but the landscape refused to change. Each mile felt like a loop, a scene repeating itself with uncanny precision. The GPS still showed the highway stretching ahead, an unending line of possibility, but Jake's odometer suggested he should have reached a destination by now. He checked his phone for a signal. Nothing. It was as if the world outside this road had ceased to exist, leaving him in a vacuum of isolation. Jake felt a creeping unease, a sensation of being trapped in time and space. He shook his head, trying to dispel the growing sense of dread that settled in his bones. Jake decided to stop and rest, pulling over to the side of the road. As he stepped out, the silence was oppressive, the air still and unmoving, as if the world held its breath. He walked a few paces into the forest, the underbrush crunching underfoot like brittle bones. There was a chill that seemed to seep into his bones, a cold that wasn't merely physical. When he turned back, the truck looked distant, as if the forest had swallowed space and time itself. A whisper of wind rustled the leaves, but it sounded more like a distant voice, a beckoning call that tugged at his mind. Back in the truck, Jake tried to shake the feeling of unease gnawing at him like a persistent shadow. He turned the radio on, hoping for some company, some connection to the world outside. Static crackled through the speakers, occasionally interrupted by a voice speaking a language he couldn't understand, a haunting cadence that made his skin crawl. He turned the dial, but every station was the same, static, and that eerie voice. It was like the airwaves were caught in the same loop as the road itself. Jake's grip on the wheel tightened, his knuckles white against the dim dashboard light, as he willed himself to remain calm. As the hours dragged on, Jake saw a figure in the distance, a woman standing by the roadside with an air of ethereal stillness. She wore a long, tattered dress that fluttered in a breeze Jake couldn't feel, her presence both haunting and mesmerizing. Her eyes were dark pits in the pale light, watching him with an intensity that pierced through the night. Jake slowed down, a mix of fear and curiosity driving him to understand this ghostly apparition. But as he got closer, She vanished into the mist like a mirage, leaving only the lingering cold of her gaze. Jake's unease grew into a gnawing fear that clawed at his mind. It felt like the road itself was alive, a sentient entity intent on keeping him there. He checked the glove compartment, hoping to find a map, something tangible to ground him. The maps were there, but none showed this highway, just blank space where the road should have been. It was as if the highway existed only for him, a personal purgatory with no way out. He crumpled the map in frustration, glancing out the window to see the mist creeping ever closer, swallowing the world outside. Determined to escape, Jake accelerated, the truck roaring against the silence that wrapped around him like a shroud. Yet the road seemed infinite, a never-ending stretch with no landmarks or signs of civilization to anchor him. Fatigue clawed at him, his eyes heavy and burning with exhaustion. Just as he felt he might succumb to sleep, the headlights caught something. A shadowy figure crossing the road, a flicker of movement in the corner of his eye. He swerved, heart racing, but the figure vanished before impact, leaving only the echo of his pounding heart in the stillness. As dawn's light struggled against the mist, a faint, sickly yellow glow filtered through, casting long shadows on the road. Jake felt the road begin to change beneath his tires. The asphalt cracked and shifted, revealing cobbled stones beneath, ancient and worn. The truck's tires rumbled over the uneven surface, and the GPS flickered before shutting off entirely, leaving Jake truly alone. His only guide was the road itself, now an ancient path leading him deeper into isolation, into a world that felt suspended in an era that had forgotten him entirely. Jake felt a profound loneliness, as if he was the last person in existence, stranded in a forgotten realm. The road ahead was swallowed by fog, and he could no longer tell how long he'd been driving, or if he was moving at all. Time felt elastic, stretching and contracting without rhythm or reason. He caught glimpses of figures in the trees, watchers whose intentions were unreadable, their forms shifting in and out of view. They vanished when he tried to focus on them, leaving only the impression of eyes, watching, judging. Jake knew he had to keep moving, even if the road never ended. In a moment of clarity, Jake realized he had to leave the truck and the road to break free from the endless loop. He stopped, taking only his essentials, and stepped into the forest, each step a rebellion against the road's grip. The air was different here, less oppressive, carrying the scent of earth and decay. As he walked, the forest began to thin, and he found himself on a familiar road, one that existed in the real world, with the comforting sound of distant traffic. His phone buzzed with messages, a lifeline to reality. Jake looked back, but the forest had closed, hiding the highway forever in its depths. That's where the account ends, whether by choice or otherwise. Jake never spoke of the highway again, but his demeanor changed, as if the road had left an indelible mark on his soul. He was quieter, more contemplative, as though part of him had been left on that forgotten road, lost to its mysteries. The GPS was never found, and no trace of the highway existed on any map. A phantom road in an unseen world. Some say the road appears only to those seeking escape from something within themselves. They never went back. And if you're smart, neither will you.